All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, back with another video on this hot, blistering Sunday. Y'all that went to church, I hope y'all had a good service, and I hope you didn't have an apostate preacher. But what we got to talk about now is these liberals, these Democrats, they playing in your face. This mayor in California is finna give illegals cash to help them avoid ICE, to help them avoid deportation. But they don't never have nothing for you guys. They got you guys out here running around worried about your SNAP being cut off and your Section 8. But they always have money for immigrants. They always find a way to support them because they care about them more than they care about y'all. They care about people from other countries more than they care about Americans, and they doing it in your face. At some point in time, if you're on the Democratic plantation, you got to realize that you being played for a fool. These Dixiecrats is the same old slave drivers that want their cheap labor. They can't have slaves no more, so they need cheap labor. And they'll do anything to keep them, even give them free money. I want you to check out this video with me and tell me what you think, because I know a whole lot of Americans that don't like this. You can always find money to help these immigrants, but you can't have no money for veterans and people that pay taxes in this country. Without further ado, let's get off into this clip. This is for fair uses under the 1976 Copyright Act for education and commentary, and it's hot out here. Check this out.
Karen Bass just announced that she is giving free cash money, courtesy of the taxpayer, to all 1 million illegal immigrants in Los Angeles who are now afraid to go to work. Good luck, LA taxpayer. This just solidifies to the American people that the main constituent of the Democrat Party is, in fact, illegal immigrants and not American citizens. All of this while an activist Biden-appointed judge conveniently located out of Los Angeles has now decided she's actually the president of the United States and rules that the Trump administration has to cease operations in LA. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. These Democrats are losing their minds. But let me start by showing you the unthinkable announcement that the mayor of LA is giving taxpayer-funded dollars to illegal immigrants to stay home so they avoid getting deported.
When I heard this news about the cash payments, I thought this cannot possibly be true. But then on reflection, I thought, of course it's true, because California already provides the most generous benefits for illegal immigrants of any state by far. Newsom has driven Medicaid insolvent by giving out free comprehensive benefits for everyone. And now Bass is giving out these free cash cards. And apparently one of the ways you can get one is if you're too afraid to go into work. Well, number one, this fear, to the extent that
they're afraid to go to work. How many of y'all is afraid to go to work? Stop at a gas station or whatever. These are the people that y'all side with. These are the people.
Exists is largely driven by Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, who have purposely incited fear and driven these rioters into a state of frenzy. But number two, if we say that if you're too afraid to go to work, you get free cash payments, I think that all of a sudden we're going to find there are a lot more people who are suddenly too afraid to go into work. But the real kicker in all this is that Karen Bass has chosen, of all groups, Sherlock to distribute the cards. Now remember, this is the group that got $34 million in funding and then played a central role in organizing the riot.
I mean, what a spit in the face to actual American citizens. People who get up early, work hard every single day because they have to provide for their family. And their tax dollars are being given to people who shouldn't even be in this country because they're scared to go to work. I mean, this should be considered aiding and abetting. What illegal immigrant will risk going into work, potentially being caught up in an ICE raid, when the mayor of Los Angeles is saying you can stay at home and we will just give you money? We have never seen anything like this outside of COVID, when the government forced us to not go to work. So it's like, yeah, you better be paying us then. But who's willing to bet the illegal immigrants get way more than the $1,200 checks we got? Because according to Democrats, Those are the most important Americans in the country. They always say, how would our food ever get picked? How would our houses ever get built? They make it seem like illegal immigrants are the sole reason the United States is a world superpower. They built this country, not us. Los Angeles is stolen land, don't you remember? All of this blatant preferential treatment is largely why people got so fed up with illegal immigration in the first place. The Democrats never learn from their mistakes. The residents of Los Angeles just saw their city burn to the ground less than a year ago. And what is their government spending their money on? Not fire preparedness, no, giving free money to illegal immigrants so they can stay home and not go to work. I mean, if Californians refuse to elect these idiots out of office, they deserve everything that they get. But now on to the other equally as stupid development of the day. An activist Biden judge deciding that ICE can't operate within Los Angeles. $100 for anybody who can say this judge's name.
Fox has told that federal judge Mame Awusi Mensah Frimpong, a Biden appointee, has written a tentative order that will potentially block the Trump administration.
You hear that name? Clearly she's an immigrant. No wonder she feel that way.
DHS from carrying out some of the most controversial parts of its immigration sweeps here in the LA area. In particular, DHS will be blocked from conducting stops of suspected illegal immigrants unless the agent has a reasonable suspicion that there is a violation of immigration law. Additionally, the Trump administration will be blocked from relying on race, Spanish-speaking, location, and type of work when making immigration arrests. Now, plaintiff attorneys argue that as this hearing was taking place, a farm in Camarillo, north of Los Angeles, was being raided by federal agents, with farm workers being taken into federal custody. They said that highlights the urgency of this case.
So, one of the popular ways that ICE is rounding up illegal immigrants is through workplace raids. And that's not even a Trump thing. Workplace raids are synonymous with ICE. This happens through all administrations. But now this judge has decided that these workplace raids are discriminatory, so they have to stop. Not only does she not have the authority to do that, but she made sure to include job sites in where ICE couldn't go, because in sanctuary cities, there's no recourse for being an illegal immigrant. You can openly hang around Home Depots and just try to get under the table work. Because there's no chance of law enforcement interacting with ICE, they can work in the farms, they can work in the meat packing plants. So if ICE wants to pick up a big block of illegals, it makes sense that they would go to a spot where they have intel that many of them work. But here's Karen Bass, who claims that Donald Trump is the unconstitutional one, celebrating this unconstitutional ruling by this judge.
We have seen lower courts side, frankly, with a lot of the Democratic officials on some of these immigration issues, and then as they're appealed, some of the more conservative courts side with the administration. Are you afraid that's going to happen again?
Well, that is definitely a risk. We do understand that, but it's just so important for Angelenos to understand that we stood together as a city. We peacefully protested, because that is critical, and we used all of the tools in our democratic toolbox, and that was the courts.
And lastly, is there, because I'm concerned with...
These the same Angelenos in California lawmakers that said no to reparations. They don't want to give you nothing, but you still back them and support them. This is crazy.
I see what's happening, that somebody's going to get seriously hurt when you see the tension on one of the sides. I mean, could be an ICE agent, could be somebody in the streets. Is there a way to cool down the temperature here? Is there a deal maybe to be made on sanctuary cities? Is there some negotiation behind the scenes with you and the administration to try to take things down a notch?
Well, you should know, and you know me, I'm always willing to talk. I'm always willing to have a discussion. But the way you cool down the temperature is you stop what you are doing.
The fact that she knows this decision will likely get overturned in a higher court shows you everybody involved in this judicial tyranny knows what they're doing is unconstitutional and wrong. Like every case that's made it up to the Supreme Court, Donald Trump has won. The only time they ruled against him was in the case of Abrego Garcia, and that wasn't even on the legality of an executive order. That was over a slight, minute administrative error where they could deport him just not to Venezuela. That was just a slight, minute administrative error. They had every legal authority to deport Abrego Garcia. They just couldn't send him to El Salvador, where he went. And the Supreme Court wasn't there to decide the severity of this administrative error, just that one occurred and needed to be rectified. Other than that, Trump is batting 1,000, and that should let people know what's going on in these lower courts isn't just unconstitutional, it's unserious. They know nothing's gonna stick. Their goal is to just be annoying, and there should be consequences for these judges abusing their power, issuing unconstitutional rulings and blocks and stays and injunctions, only for them all to get overturned, but annoyingly halt the operations of the federal government for a month. If they're allowed to do that, then the role of the president is meaningless. But this ruling occurred because the LA mayor was furious the other day when the National Guard rolled through MacArthur Park to clean it up. Here's what that looked like. So it looks scary, right? Why was the army walking through a park? Why were they there? They're making everybody uncomfortable. Oh my God, this is the authoritarianism we promised you Trump would bring. Well, here's a video of MacArthur Park the day before that, and you tell me if you think there was reason that the National Guard came to clean it up.
Frankly, it is outrageous and un-American that we have federal armed vehicles in our parks when nothing is going on in the parks.
Said, I've got to go. So what's going on, Mayor? She goes, well, something's going on in MacArthur Park. MacArthur Park is this beautiful park here downtown Los Angeles.
Open drug use, open crime, full of illegals.
What happened to the criminals, the drug dealers, the violent individuals who were in the park today were children. It was their summer camp, their summer day.
That's a hell of a summer camp. You see them nodding? You see the open drug use? This is, you see how these liberals be lying to you?
So because Los Angeles is a lawless hellhole, placating as some sunshine and palm trees, it's all cool, man. Hippie, liberal, warm, fun, relaxed paradise. The reality is Los Angeles's unwillingness to enforce just basic, decent laws have turned MacArthur Park into a giant fentanyl drug den where people are openly selling heroin, meth, fentanyl, and smoking it and shooting up right there in the park. Crime is rampant, and it's a dangerous place right in the middle of the city. But Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom would have you believe, oh, these National Guard members were interrupting families having picnics, children playing, peace, love, and happiness was in the air, and Trump's goons just came and scared everybody. Because they're compulsive liars who refuse to accept accountability. Their Marxist, liberal, fairy tale policies have destroyed Los Angeles and the state of California. But here's Stephen Miller taking a shot at all the dysfunction happening in Los Angeles.
It's a crime. And again, another example of how the city government of Los Angeles is waging a campaign of insurrection against the federal government. Let's be very clear. What would Los Angeles look like without illegal aliens? Here's what it would look like. You would be able to see a doctor in the emergency room right away, no wait time, no problem. Your kids would go to a public school that had more money than they know what to do with. Classrooms would be half the size. Students who had special needs would get all the attention that they needed. There would be no violent transnational gangs. There would be no cartels. There would be no Mexican mafia. There would be no Serenos. There would be no MS-13. There would be no TDA. You would be living in a city that would be safe, that would be clean. There would be no fentanyl. There would be no drug dens. That could be the future Los Angeles could have, but the leaders in Los Angeles have formed an alliance with the cartels and the criminal aliens.
All right, Stephen Miller.
At this point, I believe his assumption. Why else would they be fighting so hard to make LA and California a safe haven for illegal immigrants? On X, everybody has been having...
I'm going to stop right there. If you're a liberal and a Democrat at this point, you got to see that you're on the side of some treasonous, traitorous criminals. The lady is lying to you saying that the park was for kids and children were having picnics when it was an open drug den. And in the most insulting way, they're giving them cash cards. While they got you running around thinking that your benefits will be cut. This is terrible. Terrible. You should be outraged. And I wasn't even going to make no video on this Sunday, this hot Sunday. But I had to show you that. And this is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Like, share, and subscribe. Keep your head on the swivel. Peace. And so always salute to all patriots. Think about what you just seen.